I've climbed the mountains in Montana, danced in the lights of New Orleans. Portland ran away with me, and San Francisco stayed with me. Nashville made its way in between. Fell in love in Minnesota, and fell apart south of Salt Lake.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Melanade Beauty. This was my kitchen / dining room area when I first moved into my tiny house rental almost a year ago. There's a wall between my stove and sink, the tiniest area to hook up a washer and dryer, and a refrigerator tucked away in the corner. Would you believe me if I told you I managed to stack a washer and dryer plus vertical storage shelving system in this little nook area? That will be in a later video. But for today's video, I'm just going to be going over how I transformed this little nook area in this corner back here. When we first moved in, we also painted the wood paneled walls white and replaced the ugly brown carpet with laminate flooring, all with materials cheap and inexpensive that I either thrifted or found on Facebook. Obviously, my landlord said I could do whatever I want, and that's exactly what I decided to do. Starting in this area here, this is where the sink is and the hot water tank. It has one window that brings in a lot of natural lighting, but the features in the kitchen were very outdated and hideous. I do not like this millennial gray color that my landlord decided to paint the cabinets, including all over the hardware. As you see here, I started scraping it off with a little chisel tool that I had on hand. It helped me a little bit, especially when I used the hot blow dryer with it, but eventually I had to move on to another system. This is Nami, my little mini helper. So yeah, this is what the cabinets were looking like before. I attempted to sand it down using a sander, but then I realized there was multiple layers of paint that actually created a waxy residue that just stuck on my sander. So I switched over to Citri stripping gel and covered it with some plastic wrap and just left it for a few hours to help remove the gooky residue and paint. As that was sitting, I decided to move on to the cabinets. I removed those so I could sand them off a lot easier with my sander. This too was also a very difficult process. Some areas just was not coming off, very stubborn areas. Other areas came off with ease, like this latex paint. Once I got this all smoothed out, this was the finished look. Well, not the finished look, but the finished look after all of that paint was removed. A little bit of staining on the cabinet doors from where I had to add more Citri strip to the area to remove some more green paint underneath. But once it was clean, I switched over to this early American stain and poly mix because I really wanted this kitchen to be as easy as possible. It's just a rental, but it is where I live and I would like it to look nice. So once I started rubbing this on, I very shortly realized that I was applying it completely wrong, and I switched over to a synthetic brush because it's a polyacrylic inside of the stain, so smearing it on with a paper towel was not applying smoothly at all. To go with a dark, rich, warm color for the upper cabinets, and I will be painting the bottom cabinets in a green sage color for the Cottagecore look. And here is the final result of the upper cabinets once it's been smoothed out and dried, and it looks so much better. The natural wood underneath just speaks volumes compared to that ugly gray latex paint. And I'm so happy I went through with that process. Now I'm going to be going down to the bottom cabinets and also priming the backsplash and the wall. This backsplash is actually peel and stick, I believe, from the Dollar Tree. Yes, that is what my landlord installed, and it's fine. You know, the rent is cheap, and that's why we wanted to go with this place, especially in today's rental market. And giving granted permission to do pretty much whatever I want. Obviously, I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. So I primed and painted the backsplash and the wood paneling wall as well. After filling in some holes and letting those dry, I had to get in every single crack of the wood paneling so it was a cohesive, clean, crisp look. I also sanded down the cabinet drawers. I wasn't going to strip this paint because, like I said, I wanted to be as easy as possible, not put too much work into the rest of the kitchen. So this bin shellac primer does the trick every time I have a heavy duty paint job to complete. It works very well. It's just very stinky, so be prepared if you decide to use that. This is the sage green color I'll be using for the bottom cabinets. I actually picked this up from my Habitat Humanity store. They sell paint that's like eco-friendly, and I really love this color, so I grabbed it for $20 a can. I'm just rolling on the bottom portion and painting around the trim. Please excuse my bottom cabinets, they're not organized at all. Let's start normalizing realistic living situations. So I actually bought this beige paint from Facebook Marketplace from this lady. She had 2 gallons of Sherwin-Williams. I believe it's called Simplified Beige. And I got them for $15 for both cans, brand new. I guess she couldn't return them, I don't know. But like I said, I was on Facebook Marketplace heavy for this transformation for this entire house because I'm not spending a lot of money for a rental. And as for the backsplash, I purchased this little pint of paint from the clearance section at Lowe's for only $1. I was very skeptical using this because it's a very muddy army green, and I was like, this is gonna clash so poorly with the sage green below on the bottom cabinets. But obviously I wanted to save money, and I also wanted a kind of like a wow factor. I'm so glad I decided to go with this color. It honestly was like one of my best decisions. Paired so well with the bottom sage green color. As you see here, like it just looks like a designer's choice. You wouldn't think to, you know, pair a ugly green with a cute light sage, but it just works, right? It just works. So happy with that. Moving on to the doorknob handles, I am repurposing because saving money, and these were actually in pretty good shape. They just had a lot of paint that I had to soak in hot boiling water. I didn't want to mess up my pan, so I just poured the hot water in the sink and let them sit for a couple hours, and then I started scrubbing them off. Once they were clean, I moved in with this metallic copper spray paint. See, they were not perfectly clean, a lot of rust stains, a lot of paint still on there, but this was the best I could do. I also spray painted the nails and screws to match. And once I let this sit outside to dry for a couple hours and cure, I was able to then replace them back on the cabinet doors and handles. So for this little cutout area that I have in the cabinet, I decided to use a shelf liner that I thrifted for like $2 and cut it to size and just hot glue it to the back. So this would be the backdrop for this little area here. And obviously it pairs very well with the sage green, this floral print. I'm going for that cottagecore-esque type of look, and I thought this would be perfect. And it actually turned out pretty well. You can't tell that it's a fabric liner, it just looks like wallpaper on the back. And for the focal point of the main wall, I'm going to be hanging this artwork that I thrifted of this fruit bowl. It replicates an oil painting. It is not an oil painting. And I'm also going to be hanging these copperware pots. They're Revere copperware pots, vintage, thrifted from Goodwill, just to tie in with the handles of the copper spray painted knobs. And this is a little hack that I do when I have some issues hanging by myself. I use some tape and make the markings on the tape so I know exactly where to hang my art. Then I decided to hang this like hook rack underneath where I'll be hanging the pots and some decorative items just to add a little bit more charm to this wall. And this is where I house just my cleaning spray, dish soap, and hand soap. This is not sponsored, but I do enjoy the Home Court collection by Courtney Cox. And I'm just adding some final touches to the space, starting with these little framed artworks that I thrifted, just to add some character to the front cabinets. So I actually picked up this dome glass shade from a yard sale for $2. It was supposed to be for like a tea lamp or something. I'll insert a picture, but I thought it was perfect because it has like these mosaic details. And for the floor area, I'm just adding this small little throw rug from Target. Very popular design. I see a lot of people actually use this in their kitchen, and it ties perfectly with the bottom cabinet color. As for the window, I decided I wanted to go with a little cafe curtain style by using these tea towels, like linen towel curtains from the Dollar General actually, for $2 a panel. And I just added these curtain clips to them. It's very sheer, so it's not optimal if you want super big privacy, which is why I still added a shade that goes behind it that I can just roll up and use. And I added these little hooks where I will hang a curtain rod, also from a yard sale or flea market, I believe. And that is it for the window. I think it makes it look so chic with these little cafe curtains hanging with the clips, and it still allows a lot of that natural daylight to come in. And now that the final touches are done, I am ready to show you the final reveal of the new kitchen transformation. Here's what it looked like before, and here it is now.